Right, we are live. Yeah, everybody's in the right place, which is fantastic. Is there a cat there?
Yeah, she's using her cat camouflage. No.
Oh, she is.
Oh, the traditional thing.
And where's the house one underneath the rug?
He is done with that. It's not cool
Oh,
anymore.
here she comes. Here
Yeah,
she comes.
Mr. Pickles is living inside the house one now.
Did you buy the bedspread to blend in with the cat?
100%. Same with this coat. This coat's meant to match her.
Yeah. So we can't see her when she's. I called her a he. Then I do apologize. I should have.
He's not offended.
It's when you lay down on the bed and hear a meow.
Yeah, because she's perfectly camouflaged. Perfectly camouflaged. Do you know my fingers? Do you not think my fingers getting less bent at the end?
It's just like Harry Potter's wand.
I know. I mean, it was a lot worse than that once.
It was. Yeah.
It was like 90
When
degrees.
shall we three meet again?
Yeah. It was very much like that, but it is getting better. And the swelling's gone down a lot, from what it was. So it's still shaped.
To be fair, that's the best pose you've done, because I remember the first time you showed it to us.
And yeah, I remember going to my manager at work and standing.
Look, I've hurt my thumb.
It was in a splint, and I remember going up to the door and just going through the window. But yeah, it's coming along nicely. So hi everybody, welcome to Mythras. I actually got a quick story to tell. So I like to engage on Twitter with the RPG crowd because there's a lot of really interesting discussions going on. And somebody tweeted, drop a dragon into your next game. Dragons are fun, 100%. And I replied, in Mythras, they are so deadly, if a dragon appears, the players will run fast. Okay, now I thought there was nobody else who played Mythras on Twitter, but somebody replied and said, I remember making my Mythras players face a dragon for just an out-of-game, off-cannon lark. Not too sure what off-cannon lark means. I know
probably means like a one-time battle that doesn't actually affect the game.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the rules, and it's a bit of a lark, bit of a laugh.
Bit of a laugh, yeah.
Lark means laugh.
They quickly learned that pointlessness of existence, and they all expired. So I thought that was, it's nice that we got fellow people on Twitter that play Mythras, which is brilliant. So yeah, that was my little story to start off with. Welcome everyone. This is part 4. I think it is part 4 of the Harpy Queen. The players are on an epic quest. It's an epic quest. They could quite literally save the whole of the planet. The whole of the planet's existence is firmly placed on their shoulders at the present moment in time. So it's going to be quite a feat if they get to the end. They've all decided that they may not be alive by the end of it, but I have faith in that. I mean, let's face it, you coped very well with a bed of kelp. I don't think
Help! I need somebody. Help!
I don't think anything else could go wrong. Anyway, before I give you a brief synopsis about what's happening, I'm going to allow the players an opportunity to say who they are and who they will be playing tonight. And as always, we go all over to the cat-loving guy himself, Mr. Pickles.
I think that I am Mr. Pickles, and I play Bartleby Fumus here, who is our theist, as most people know. He's really into his goddess Amriel, who saves basically everything, can protect from a lot of things. He can put limbs back on people, and his power grows with every adventure, mostly. He also has a number of skills that help the party, mostly history stuff, knowledge of monsters, but his head's in the cloud most of the time, so it's usually the other party members asking him. I think most people would say Bartleby is a little bit over the top sometimes with how devoted he is to his goddess.
I think Captain Kangaroo's just lost it.
right when he was talking, the cat's tail just goes right through the camera. I think I'm the only one that caught it. That's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
Bartleby is not much of a fighter at all, so he depends on his allies to do a lot of the heavy lifting in combat, but he can use a number of spells and miracles to help boost people's abilities, keep them alive. Bartleby tries to be friends with everybody he comes across, and that's him. I'm going to pass the microphone over to Captain Kangaroo.
I'm Captain Kangaroo. I am playing Cyrus Alias. He is the magic user extraordinaire of the group, like the real magic user, really. He's, his magic has effects and actually does damage and things of that nature. He's just a cool, fun, very extremely likable character. Just almost no vices to mention. It's just top notch. Everyday kind of guy who's extraordinary at everything he's ever done. He's, I guess we all do mention sometimes everyone has a shortcoming of some sort. Emphasis on the short. But he's able to not only handle himself both in magic use, but also in physical combat too. Hopefully he may be able to use that sometime in the next few sessions. But from there, I'm going to pass the mic to Medivac so that way I don't talk all day long.
But I will. I'm Medivac, and I play Hazard Khan. He is a nomad from the northern steppes of Odessa. He's come down here to join these people and to help the helpless. I do like to dress in a padded armor, which is like, as Inwils says, it's my pajamas. PJs all day long. It's a quilted armor, which is lovely. It saved me all day long. I like to use a scimitar and a short spear. I have a habit of chucking my short spear into groups of people fighting, but I've never done battle yet. So we shall see. I've lost a spear once, but anyway, tales gone by. Yeah, I'm a friend with the Dryads. I'm a selfless protector. I like to throw myself in front of helpless people to save them. I've done this many times. And back in the day, I tried to save the party from a fate worse than death by picking up this lump, this seed, and it turned my left arm black because it burned me. And
was it Hazard that dropped somebody going down a set of stairs?
No, I didn't do that. No.
That was Hengist.
Was it?
Hengist, yes.
He's trying to save the lady and rush down the steps. And I remember because I was being attacked by tentacles.
That's a big Trachean camp, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You jumped off the ledge of like a staircase to come save me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And then Hengist threw a girl down the steps.
Similar things,
yes. And that's where I gave my selfless protector skill, which is passion. Sorry, yes. I am also a member of the Brotherhood, although I've got Brotherhood Man here, and I keep thinking songs.
Save all your kisses for me.
Yes. Which means I do track and keep a record of what happens in every biome on the world or the ones that I'm in, and I then report that back to the
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood. Yes, sorry, words, things gone by. I'm a tracker, a survivalist. I have an ox called Brutus, and I also have a cart. And nowhere to live at the moment because we're in a different part of the world. And with that, I shall pass on.
I thought you were going to say, and a totem that is right.
Oh, I do have a totem as well, which is my little jaguar tooth. But enough of that. I shall pass on to Maxulator. He is the coolest cat that has ever rocked in this group.
I'm Maxulator. I play Rohan. a rogue from the streets of Window, and in the past couple adventures kind of showed off a bit, but it kind of caught up with him when he got covered in some
Seaweed.
kelp. And then he learned that he is being forced to save the world, and now regrets signing up for this adventure.
No way. No way.
As he's bitching off more than he could probably chew.
He's quite an expert with daggers, though. He did throw some daggers in the
What's a dagger gonna do against world destruction?
Well, just keep that thought in your mind as we play the adventure.
Just out of interest, Max Slater, do you know a guy called Sniffler? Oh, Sniffer, sorry.
Sniffler.
Sniffler's mum?
He doesn't know anybody called Sniffer. No. He does know.
I've heard the rumors.
Yeah. But he does know somebody called Tiffin. Anybody who's got high perception scores.
Best time to have low perception.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right, just before we go off on today's adventure, I shared with you that special effects webpage, and Captain Kangaroo quite nicely pinned it to our chat. And just to let you know, it says at the top, weapon shield size and reach. Okay, so that is a rule that very rarely comes into play. Basically, you have a size of your weapon, and you can see down the left-hand side, it says huge, large, medium, and small. So the rule says, and it's optional, that when there is a two-step difference, then certain things happen. And what that means is, say, for example, Rohan is fighting with his dagger against a large creature, or has something like a large spear. When he engages in combat, the only thing he can do damage to is actually the weapon. Because the weapon is so long, with his little daggers, he can't get to the guy or the person who's fighting. However, there's a special combat action that allows you to close range. And at that point, Rohan would be closer to the opponent, which means he can now attack the person. But the person with the large spear cannot use the spear anymore. They can only use the shaft of it, because you're actually underneath its large wielding range, so to speak. And that's what the rule is about. So the best way to think about it is that if you had a very large weapon, you can there's actually rules in Mythras that for you to keep people at bay. You can keep them away from you. They hit the weapon if they do any damage. And that's why your weapons have hit points as well. But it very rarely happens that there's a huge discrepancy between the reach of one weapon and the reach of another weapon. But anyway, that's what it's there if you're interested. And the table below that is when you parry. How much damage you take. So if it's like how much damage is reduced. So for example, small against small, you actually parry all the damage. But if it's a dagger parrying a large weapon, then even if the dagger does manage to have a parry, it does not stop any of the weapon damage coming through. And this is especially important with huge creatures like, say, giants or dragons, in the sense that if they swing their club at you, you could try to parry it with whatever you want, but it's not going to work. It's not going to stop any of the damage at all. Yeah, and that's what those two tables are. There was something else I had to say before we start, but I've forgotten, so it'll come to me later on. Okay, then. So the party is on an epic campaign at the moment. They have set sail from Lindo. They've travelled back up the coast in a northeasterly direction to a town or village or hamlet called Windvine. They have been there once before when the party were in hot pursuit of the renegade sorcerer Melanie and her companion, her partner in crime called Insanity. They've decided to go back there, and each of them have got things that they need to do according to their orders. However, when they arrived at Windvine, they found that the whole town had succumbed to a devilish act. There was harpies all over the place. The villagers had to present food and water for the harpies, and they had even lost some of their children to acolytes. And this is all because of a character called Shahelia, who is actually queen of the harpies. She has been banished from the world for some amount of time, decades, century, we're not too sure. However, she has managed to start to break free from her prison and influence the material world once again. She has started to summon forward her followers, hence the acolytes and the harpies. And the party have decided to take on the mission to see whether or not they can either banish her back or kill her, or, you know, do something to protect the poor villagers of Windvine. They heard about the legend of Shahelia, the Harpy Queen, from a guy called Zach, who's like a bard storyteller in the tavern, and he sent them off to a soothsayer called Matilda, who lives at the coast in a cave that is actually underwater at high tide. The party arrived there after being followed and circled by a group of ravens on their trek, although the ravens did not attack, but Hazra did manage to pick one off with a hefty spear throw. They arrived at the coast. Hazra tried to do some fishing and didn't do very well at all. And then they tried to go across a wave-cut platform that was covered in kelp. Some of them made it, some of them didn't. The kelp seemed to be alive and have a will on their own. However, Hazra eventually made contact with Matilda, and Matilda released anybody who was caught in the kelp. Probably a good idea, because if not, as high tide came back, they would drown. There would be no saving throw or anything like that, just dead. And at the end of the last adventure, she took you into her underwater, or her cave. It's above water at the moment. And just to let you know, there's a strange sort of like U-bend thing going on. You actually go down a slope along the bottom and then climb up into her cave. So you figure that when the water level outside rises, it probably just blocks off the U-bend, and so the cave beyond would have a watery exit and entrance. But yeah, go for it.
Do we have to climb past the pineapple cake to get up back
Yeah.
to the bend?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that an underwater? I don't know.
It's a toilet one.
Oh, I see
No.
what you mean. Yeah, got you. Remember, there are some kelp that covers the entrance as well. Anyway, Matilda releases you and orders the kelp to not stop anybody who was moving across. But you do notice that once Rohan and Bartleby and Cyrus, once you've got across, the kelp covers the wave cut platform again. And just to start off, can you please all roll a perception check at once you've got across before you go in?
Do I need to? 'Cause I'm already in.
Yeah, you. There's some certain things that you can see from this side that you can't see from the other side. So let's have a look. Oh, Hazra has seen it. Captain has seen it. Rohan hasn't seen it unless you want to do a point of luck. And Bartleby hasn't seen it either. Are you guys going to just leave them, or what's going to be your plan? Do you want to use luck this early on in the game or not?
I mean, I was bragging about how low my perception is, so I'm going to take this.
You need to open your eyes to your reality.
You know what? I'm praying for Amriel to keep me safe in this strange new location that I'm not comfortable with.
I'll take the L here.
You take the L,
Yeah,
the loss.
The
loss.
Which is to say, not the luck.
the loss.
Oh, the
loss.
loss. Sorry, the loss.
Yeah, the loss.
Got
Yeah,
I
not the luck.
remembered what I had to say. If you want to support the players in any way, then you can donate either £1 sterling or 100 bitties and give any one of the party a point of luck that they could use in order to save themselves or make a skill happen or take an extra action. As a party, you have got one group luck point left after last week's adventure, but remember, everything else has refreshed. Magic points have not refreshed. They're still that low. So on this side of the kelp bed, Cyrus and Hazra, you notice something very clear. There seems to be 3 of them, and you can see that stretched across in various places. They're not all in one place. You can see that there's appears to be remnants of people or humanoids underneath the kelp. All that's left of them at the moment seems to be bones with a bit of flesh on them. You can see some tatters of clothing that remains, but there seems to be firmly underneath the kelp. The heads are still visible from this side. You notice that the eyes have been eaten out, probably by common garden sea urchins or fish of the sea. But it definitely looks like 3 humanoids have not made it across the kelp, and the kelp has captured them, and then they've died or drowned and been eaten for a while. You do figure that they've been there for quite a while. There's very little flesh on them, but quite a bit of clothing, and you notice one of them seems to have some kind of metallic armor on them, probably just like on their chest, and that's about it. And Matilda sort of like signals to come in, and she's very tiny. She's very small. If you remember, she tapped on your leg or you tugged on your waist. She's probably waist height at the moment. She is severely bent over and crooked, and she seems to walk with what appears to be an old rusty pitchfork.
Oh, not a glaive like Cyrus.
Yeah, not a glaive, but you do notice that it looks like it was a pitchfork, and you notice that an extra prong has been added to make it look more like a trident. You can see that it's probably was a spike or a tip of a sword or something like that, and it's lashed on in the center to change a pitchfork into a trident. As mentioned before, she's not the cleanest of people. You notice that she's got barnacles on her body in various pieces. There's even some things like periwinkle, sea snails crawling about in her hair and over her clothing. She is not clean at all. She's very dirty. but she has a smell of fish and the sea. And she ushers you up the ladder into her abode, which is quite simple. There is a bed of seaweed and kelp over in the corner. There's what appears to be a cauldron in the middle of the room, but with no fire or anything like that underneath it. Although you do notice that there's steam rising from the cauldron. And then over down one side, there seems to be numerous books and coffers, all higgledy-piggledy stacked. Some are open, some are fallen open, some are in huge piles bigger than her. There seems to be no furniture at all. It just seems to be this cauldron in the middle with the steam coming out of it. And she ushers you in, and I just know she's going to sound like Yoda no matter what I try to do. So she's just going to be here, and she sort of like says, come in, sit down. There's no chairs at all. And she says, take a chair, take a stool, sit down.
Yeah, I'll just kneel down, I guess. Kind of looking around like,
Yeah.
Just kind of looking, making sure I don't get anything gross on my nice robe.
You notice as you start to kneel down, Cyrus, that the base of the cave is covered in sand. And it's that lovely soft sand, that dry sand, that just when you lean on it, it just snuggles you and molds itself to you. And it's not wet at all, it's completely dry. So Cyrus, you're kneeling down. What about the rest of you? What you doing?
I'm gonna, as I told her before, I'm gonna walk in there. I'm gonna sit cross-legged right opposite her and just focus myself on her.
Yeah, and she sort of like nods at both you and Cyrus. What about Rohan and Bartleby? What's going to be your plans?
I'm gonna just squat near the other guys.
Yeah, okay.
Not really sit.
And what about Bartleby?
I am going to worry about things that could be lurking in the dark. I would like to cast a prayer.
Okay, then. Go for it.
This is the prayer that I would like to call on to get some vision of the room and see if there's anything lurking about, and if there's any magical things like hidden kelp traps.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Yeah, go for it. Roll your folk magic. Yeah, you shift your gaze and look around the cave, and probably the best question is what's not magic in this cave. If anything, it seems to be divine magic. It doesn't seem to be the foreign, disturbing sorcerer magic or mystical magic or even the magic of spirits that the animists use. It's definitely divine magic. And it just sort of like covers the whole area. Everything seems to be glowing, and as you finish casting the spell and you look around, she almost like stops and turns around, and she sort of like gazes at you up and down, Bartleby, and she says, "That, young man, is exceptionally rude."
I'm sorry. I just I needed to be certain that there is no inherent doom here for me and my comrades.
You think I bring doom to you?
It's sometimes the people you least expect can bring the most danger.
And there I was, inviting you all into my cave and not allowing you to be stuck underneath the kelp.
I mean, the kelp was a little bit of a motivation to make sure. I'm sorry, ma'am. It was very rude of me.
She says, "I will accept your apology only after you taste my soup." And she seems to find a bowl from somewhere. and she sort of like gets what appears to be a ladle, and she ladles out some liquid into the bowl, Bartleby. And as it ladles out, something goes plop into it, and she sort of like thrusts it in your direction, and it seems to be a thin kind of soup or broth. You can see that there's various bits of seaweed floating around in it, but the plop thing is the head of a fish. And it just sort of like bounces up to the top. It's still got its eye. Its mouth is ajar. And she says, "And no leaving that to the last bit. That's the best part."
Yes, may Amriel have mercy on your soul.
And yeah, she's sort of like,
Eat up, Bartleby. Eat up.
With my perception, am I able to see a spoon in this bowl of?
no, there's no. Oh. It looks like
use a fish head to scoop it up.
It just looks like you cup the bowl and like that, or you could pick the fish head out if you wish.
Down in one.
Is the fish head small enough that I could that's one mouthful, or
probably two? You're going to have to crunch it.
I'd like to interrupt this one.
Go for it.
Can I roll to see for my next thing, or should I just say it and then roll
say it, and then I'll decide what needs to be done.
Sorry, ma'am. My friend here, he's actually allergic to fish.
Yeah, that right. She does not know whether or not you're telling the truth or not. So you can either roll your influence or deceit. I'm quite happy with either of them.
Deceit.
Nice.
Yes, but it's a standard roll, so you get 13 out of 64. However, she gets 44 for her willpower, which means she sees through her insight, not a willpower, her insight, so she sees through your deceit. Remember, the higher the score, closer to your skill, the better. And she says, she looks at you and she sort of like points a little finger at you, and she says, "Little boys like you should not tell tales." And then she smiles at you and she says, "Would you like some soup as well?"
No, ma'am. I'm not very hungry right now.
"Ah," she says, "of course you are." And she scoops something into a bowl and hands it to you. There's no fish head in this one. There's just a couple of tails. The back end of it, and there's two. You can actually eat them separately. There does seem to be like a string of something coming out of the back of one of them. It's quite brown or black in colour.
No, no.
It looks like
Wriggling.
No, it just looks like.
No, it's
the fish's
everyone's
intestines.
had a goldfish, yes.
Or no,
And that line that comes out the
Never mind.
backside as it swims around. You go, "Oh, what's that?" Oh, it's
poop.
Poo.
Well, I feel better about my situation now.
And Matilda looks at Cyrus and Hazra and says, "Would you like some fish head stew?"
Honestly, I'm stuffed. I ate right before I crossed the bridge, and yeah, I'm sorry. But you know what? It's very unlike the church to deny a gift. So go ahead and eat up, Bartleby.
Yeah, hang on. Cyrus needs to roll a deceit roll.
Yeah.
Because he's not telling the truth.
What? I didn't eat it? Okay. My deceit is terrible, so.
Oh, so close. So close. I got 24, you got 19. And she hands you a soup bowl. On this one, let me just check. Yeah, you don't seem to have any fish. This is definitely escargot soup. There's a whole load of winkles and
Delicious.
some limpets in there. And yeah, she turns to you, Hazra. Would you like soup?
Grandmother, I think I could try some soup, but I'm quite
Oh,
old. But please give me some soup and
yeah,
we'll see
and
what happens.
she sort of like spoons something into yours, and you have a look at it, and it looks quite clear, and there's a bit of seaweed in it, but that's all. And you sort of like think, wow, I got away with this. And then all of a sudden, up comes what appears to be a mini octopus or something like that.
Oh, behave.
With 8 tentacles. And you sort of like look at it, and you don't know whether or not it's just the water moving, but one of the tentacles sort of goes and moves slightly as you have it. She says, eat up, there's much more where that's come from.
I want to
bless her.
enthusiastically eat up.
You go.
I'm gonna drink down until I can get the fish head out. Then I'm gonna bite down in 2 bites, and I'm gonna try and who knows? I might like this. I come from a port town, so you know.
Okay then. What's everybody else doing?
Well, Cyrus has seen worse things come out of him, so you might as well give it a try.
Okay then. And what about Rohan? And Rohan has the fish tails with the poop in it.
Yay!
He comes from the land down under.
I'm going to
fecal delight here.
I'm going to pray in my head because this is pretty bad. And take a sip.
Okay.
It's like a bush chucker trial.
It is, yeah. Hazra, what do you want to do?
I'm going to drink the juice, but I'm going to nudge the octopus out of the way.
Okay then. So you all need to make for me, please, that skill that you all love so much.
Combat.
Let's have some. Yeah, it's combat. Let's have some willpower checks.
Oh, behave. Seriously.
Hey yo!
Right, so we have a fumble. So there is a little box next to your skill.
Rohan he's popped his cherry.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
So if you go to that skill, there's a little, I forget what it looks like.
Exclamation mark.
Yeah, there should be an exclamation mark, and you can click that box for your willpower, which means at the end of the adventure, you automatically get 1 point. In your willpower, no matter what. So, but that is a fumble. Okay, then.
It's a fumble.
So who succeeded?
I would like to use a point of luck.
Cyrus didn't. Oh, Bartleby's going to use a point of luck to.
You know what? I will
enthusiasm.
too. I will too. I'll use a point of luck. So I don't want to
Okay.
make her feel bad for
So
her terrible
willpower and willpower.
shit soup.
So you'll both succeed. Oh,
Mhm.
Hazra succeeds.
Yeah.
In any case, Rohan, you don't. Okay, then. So this is what.
Rohan could use a point of luck and reverse it.
Yeah. So let's do Rohan's first. And you sort of like try to drink it, and you try to drink the actual fluid, but you try to sort of like think of pleasant things and sweet amber nectar, etc. But on a like that, you catch
Little tail.
the little feces trail out of the back end of the fish, and you suck it, and before you know it, this fish head, this fish tail, just sort of like goes into your mouth, and you try desperately to keep it down, but the thought of this fish poo and a tail of your fish in your mouth is just too much, and you literally empty your contents of your mouth and quite a big part of your stomach out onto the sand, and everybody sort of like does that wonderful bit when they see it's about to move, and then you see it's about to happen as Rohan empties his stomach, and Matilda goes, well, that's going to smell pretty bad for the rest of this session, isn't it? The people who actually make their willpower, this is gourmet food. It is absolutely delicious, and it's not crunchy, it's not nasty, it doesn't taste of fish. It seems to taste of your favorite food ever. And you sort of quite tentatively take the first sip and then think, what? And then you sort of like start to eat it. And, you know, when you bite into the fish's heads, they crumble so nicely in your mouth as if you're eating ice cream covered in chocolate or something like that. And you just like bite into it. And, you know,
Sherry crumble pie.
Yeah. You sort of like, and you're all sort of like taking this, and you notice Rohan has just puked his guts up. And you're sort of like thinking, wow.
Let's try that.
Yeah.
No.
And you sort of like don't understand it. And when she says, would anybody like some more? You all sort of like say, yeah. Yeah. And apart from Rowan, who just sort of like puts his
flabbergasted
hand up, and she sort of like dishes it out, and no matter what you have in your bowl, it tastes so good. And you think there might be a glamour on it or something. And the important thing is that if you could overcome with your willpower roll to actually eat it, then it tastes absolutely fine. And
bit of pepper and paprika.
Yeah. And Matilda comes over to the pile of vomit, and the sand has already drained away all the moisture from it. And she sort of like takes a little shovel or something and scoops some dry sand up and sort of like pats it over the top. And she looks at you, Rohan, she gets rather close and says, don't worry, it always happens to the best of us. And she goes toddling off, and she seems to be doing her books and messing about with books. Rohan, is there anything you would like to do at all?
Not watch the others eat.
Not watch them. Yeah.
But you gotta try it. You gotta. It's so good. Just have one sip. It's really good.
And as Bartleby turns to you and says that, and you
I don't really want to share.
You notice that out the corner of his mouth, he seems to have the tentacle of an octopus just sort of like waving around as if it's still alive. And he sort of like says, oh, it's really good. He goes like that and sucks this tentacle into his mouth. And yeah, and Matilda seems to not eat any of the food. And she then sort of like, after a while, she turns and looks at you all and says, so, why are you here? Anybody could be the spokesperson.
I'm going to have Bartleby talk because I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going to just hunker down because I've done my work here. I've found Matilda. And
You've got them.
I'm not the vocal person here.
Matilda turns to you, Hazra, and says, did you bring any fish with you?
The mistress, the grandmother, I tried, but my skills are not what they were. I cast my rod, but nothing came back with it.
Don't worry, it happens to everyone at least once or twice in their older lives. Don't worry, you'll soon get it back. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm happy so because I do like fish.
And she sort of like turns to you, Bartleby, and sort of like looks you straight in the eye and sort of like cocks her head on one side and says, well, yes.
Well, we are here on very important things. Amriel has guided us into your direction because we believe you might know something about Chehelia, the Queen of the Harpies.
And as you sort of like mention her name, she has almost like a sharp intake of breath, as if she's almost like as if you are Harry Potter and you just mentioned the word Voldemort or something like that, and she looks quite shocked, and you suddenly hear a noise behind you. You turn and you notice that the water has almost, it seems to be agitated. It seems to be almost like bubbling, as if it's shocked about this as well. And she says, that is not a name you should speak in any place. It is not wise to utter her name.
I did not know. We were told this by a man in town, Zach.
Oh, yes. My lover, Zach.
Still your lover?
Oh, she says, not now. Not now. I grew bored of him. His skills were sadly lacking, but I have my eye on someone else. And she gazes over at you, Cyrus, and so like winks.
That makes sense.
Gross. Anyways, ma'am, I just want to.
Ma'am. That's either a typical American thing or police force thing.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. No, but in all seriousness, we need to figure out how to get your weakness. Not only find her, but also figure out how to stop her, because she seems to be very successful in coming back into this realm. So any kind of little knowledge we have of her that you might know, that would be great to figure out right now.
And she looks slightly puzzled as she sort of like, as you say the words, Cyrus, and she says, has she been released from her prison?
If she hasn't, she's about to be.
This is grave tidings. And she turns to you, Bartleby, and says, is your goddess doing nothing about this?
It's complicated, but I believe that Amriel and Maroth are doing the majority of the work here. Some of the other gods have perhaps focused elsewhere.
Oh. I am sure my god is well prepared and will try desperately to help if need be. I see what you are trying to elude here. You do not wish to take credit for yourself, do you? I see your goddess, and she sort of like points out a crooked finger, has sent you to rid us of Chehelia.
She's also sent my comrades here. They're very skilled and, in her eyes, important to
And
this
she
cause.
sort of like she looks around at the other three, and she looks at you each in turn, and then turns back to you, Bartleby, and says, mere cannon fodder. They will protect you. I think it is your destiny to either kill her or be killed in trying.
Cyrus giggles a bit. Probably the latter. Giggles like, it's so funny.
That makes me think that he's just this little school child.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
No, so, in all seriousness, though, outside of his make-believe stuff, where would we find her if she's coming back to this realm?
Ah, that is a good question. Now, she says, I cannot help you with the where, but I can help you with the how.
All right.
Let me see if I can find something. And she seems to go off, and you sort of like sat there looking at each other as she mutters to herself, "Oh, I thought it was in there. No, it's definitely not there. Definitely not." And then eventually, almost like victoriously, she goes, "Found it!" And there's a small, almost like a necklace box. Does that make sense? So it's all about this, but like a little jewelry box. And she brings it over and she opens it. And inside, there appears to be a weapon. It's got a very flat, short blade. Probably a little bit longer than a knife and probably a little bit wider than a dagger. And then it has no hilt on it. It has no sort of like crossed line or anything. It just ends in what appears to be a barnacle and limpet covered handle. And it seems to be, it's not in fancy velvet or anything like that. It's just in this box, and she opens it and says, "This is what you need."
This blade will kill the Queen of the Harpies?
Well, kill or banish. One of the two.
Banish?
Yes. She has gained access to our world. By banishing her, we can actually sever that contact. She will be back in the prison once more. And then maybe some of the local population will start to believe once more in the old gods rather than these hodgepodge new gods that, quite frankly, are not worth their weight in anything.
I couldn't agree more with you on that.
Yes.
But I'm concerned, though, if she's able to weaken the bonds of the prison and we just banish her back there, couldn't she simply return?
But this is what the weapon will do. The weapon will seal. It would either kill her or banish her and seal the rift from her world to our world. Remember, she is a queen. She's almost semi-godlike. Maybe you do not have the power or the faith to kill her. Maybe you will have to just be happy with her being banished once more.
And
I would like to roll. I want to know if she really believes what she's saying, or if Bartleby believes that she believes what she's saying.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe an insight.
But yeah, roll your insight. Hazra, you're the closest to her at the moment, and she sort of like looks over to you and she says, "I thought they might have brought somebody a little bit stronger in their faith than this one."
But trust me, Bartleby is a diamond in the rough. He's very pure in his belief of Amiel.
Well, let's hope so.
He almost turned me to Amiel. I believe her spirit is ultimately beautiful.
Well, at least he has you all to protect him.
Not that much is
sure.
true.
Do you wish to use a point of luck, Bartleby?
No, I don't think
Yeah.
Bartleby is necessarily sure of whether she's pulling his leg or not.
Now, Matilda, is it? Yeah. Where'd you get this? Like, we just expect to think that some random dagger is going to be the answer to all of our questions.
No, it has been passed down from mother to daughter, from grandmother to mother, from great-great-grandmother to great-mother, so forth and so on. It has been passed down ever since the queen was trapped and banished into her prison. Nobody knows of this or the verse that accompanies it.
So wait, grandmother. Sorry, but you're saying that this dagger has been passed on from female to female to female.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, I am too old to use it.
But it's the female people of this village that may have the dagger that can defeat
Shahelia?
the Helia. That's a thing.
And it's such a surprise that you, of anybody, have no offspring to give this to.
Well, she looks at you, Hazra. Cyrus, and says, "No offspring yet."
Back my
Master
back.
Prime on this one.
All
right.
I've been missing you,
Anyway,
Cyrus, so long.
one last question, ma'am. Thank you for your hospitality. The Harpies, very annoying. Any known weaknesses that we can know that we
Yes.
might know about?
They are one thing that they are very susceptible to.
It's herpes.
Sexually transmitted diseases. She says
Uh-oh.
they
Skip
are.
one of them.
She says they are very susceptible to death.
Yeah, that's seems universsul. Anything that helps leave them
Shortness
there
of breath.
faster. Yeah,
But
it's hard for them to survive without their heads, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, very much so. But it
yeah.
is not the harpies that you need to be careful about.
It's
Shahelia has
It's a
a
mistress.
range of very powerful servants within her flock. Her acolytes themselves are mighty powerful.
any possible weaknesses they might have.
They're quite susceptible to death as well.
I'll deliver
Matilda.
that to them.
Any good like shortcut to death you might give us?
Well, the normal things. Axe in the head, a spear through the heart, that sort of thing.
We have a spirit.
Right. Yeah. You're just right
Matilda,
there.
is there any way to tell these acolytes from ordinary people?
Oh, yes. Now, just like your priest boy here, they are proud in their certain attire that they wear. They wear full-length robes with cowls over their heads, but you can tell them apart, for their shoulders are covered in black feathers, and it is said that they, the acolytes, can do great magic, summon up strong winds, call down lightning from the sky, and even change shape into harpies or ravens themselves.
Thank you, grandmother.
Possibly like a flock of ravens.
Yeah, a murder of them.
Mm,
I'm
great.
so pleased. I'm so pleased that I do not have to face them. You are lucky that you have not come across them so far. They possess great magic.
Wait a minute.
Please, grandmother, explain.
They are servants of Shahelia herself. They are her priests, her theists. She provides some of their spells. Their magic comes directly from her. They share her thirst, her hunger for domination and, well, death in the most slowest and painfulest way possible.
They sound like a delight.
She says, but you have your church boy there. He will be able to protect you.
Is there any way I
I'm
could
real. Sorry.
potentially remember? We were followed by birds on the way here.
Mhm.
If I like go into my memory banks, do I remember, like, were they all blackbirds?
Yeah, there were
Yeah, they were.
ravens.
Pretty
they're
much,
ravens.
yeah, ravens, yeah.
Not good.
Nope.
And
Just
now,
happen to know we're here. Whatever.
now she says, before you go, you have the weapon, but there is also the verse. And this is the final verse of the ballad of Shehelia. It has been passed down the ages, but strangely, the rest of the ballad has been forgotten. But there still remains the most important bit, for this tells you how to actually kill or banish her. Would you like me to regale you with it?
Absolutely.
Sure.
To
Let's start with, I
approve
like
in the woods.
big butts, and I can't.
Just
not
to
like
let you
them.
know, I'll cut and paste it into the chat and
Ooh, perfect.
the Discord once I've read it. So you don't need to quickly try to write it down. I could see Hasra pen at the ready. And this is what she says. And just to let you know, as she speaks it, you feel the atmosphere, the ambience of the cave alter and almost like seem to add atmosphere to her words. And this is what she says to you. As the winds do howl and toil, the blood beneath will churn and boil. Then through faith the curse will come and settle on the only one. Within her hand the blade will slide through bone and sinew, flesh and hide. Towards its prize it will plummet low, and as darkness falls, the queen will go back to the place she once was secured, the place from which her followers lured. Her life will end yet once again, and the world will be free of her deadly reign.
Right.
So that is coming in. I'm going to stick it in your Discord chat.
Just beautiful verse. Very. I like the chorus. It was good.
Only completely ominous.
So just to let you know, if you wish to try to unpick what the verse means, then of course, as players yourself, you might be able to unpick what it's actually meaning, but your characters may not actually be able to figure it out. So if anybody wishes to try to unravel it to see what it actually means, then it'll work like a conflict pool. Okay?
Hasselwood, he's going to go into like a slight meditative state.
Yeah, so just to let you know, a bit of a heads up, it will take you can have 2 attempts per hour to try to unpick what it actually means. But any of you, your skill that you will roll will be your intelligence multiplied by 5. Okay, and your conflict pool will be your intelligence. Okay, just your intelligence. So you will try to understand it. You get 2 attempts per hour, and that needs to be virtually uninterrupted. You can do something else. So, for example, you can sit on the wagon as you go back and try to unpick it, or you can sit late at night or something. You do have the possibility of augmenting it, your intelligence times 5, with another skill, if you can justify its use. And just to let you know, it's not shared between you. So it's not a case that everybody rolls it and then we see it's not 4 against 1. It will always be 1 against 1. So Bartleby, you may do a whole load of rolls and reduce the versus conflict pool down to 2, but Hasra, the next day, if you started to look at it, the conflict pool is not at 2. It'll be 20 for you, or 30 or 40 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sort of like change it. You have your own version and how you will unpick it. She doesn't write it down at all. So she's just said it and she's not repeating it or anything like that. But that's one of the issues, is that it's not as if you can sit down and ponder over the written word. You're literally trying to remember. And, if you fumble a roll, it's probably that I'll slide another word in there, and which will change the meaning of the whole poem. So yes, so it's probably something that you can start working on as you travel back to Windvine. If there's any questions that you would like to ask Matilda now, then this would be the time.
I would like to ask her, out of curiosity, what is the name of the god that you serve?
And she looks at you quite shocked and said, "Do you not know your gods, the old gods of the world? What are they teaching the young acolytes in this time? Do you learn anything at all?"
Well, admittedly, I wasn't raised in the faith of Amriel. It's sort of in the last several years I've come to the faith.
Oh, you're still a new boy. I see.
In a sense.
Don't worry. You take your time. And she sort of like smiles and says, "And if you would ever like to move, I'm sure my God would be more than happy to accept you. Just roll your devotion."
Oh, I'm devoted.
Yeah, you are totally devoted. So she mentions that her god is called Hydrus, and you know of this god. The details are on the World Anvil page if you want them, but just to let you know, so Hydrus is a god of great strength. He moves around Odess, flowing like a small stream, large river, or open sea. He stretches out the cool, calm waters of